Julia Louis-Dreyfus just said things in the MCU are about to get weird. Oh my God! Could androids, aliens, and wizards be more than just a funny quip? Is it a clue of what's to come? Wizards, the multiverse, aliens, secret invasion. Androids, though, is a tricky one. It could refer to a number of things. Vision. We have, that version of him running off. Tony Stark returning as artificial intelligence. We have Armor Wars and Riri Williams coming up. Oscorp. I know Norman Osborn will soon be returning to the MCU. Sentinels, because of course we're going to get X-Men eventually. So, what do you think androids might stand for? Yes, Kevin Feige has a lot up his sleeve, and one thing we know for sure is he's got a lot of cards up there. The only question is, when exactly will he play them, and in what order? Because a lot of these are just right around the corner, it seems. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be discussing several MCU storylines that are not just fast approaching, but that Falcon Winter Soldier, again, Captain America Winter Soldier, got us specifically closer to. I'm talking Thunderbolts, Dark Avengers, and Young Avengers. But first, I want to talk about Secret Invasion a little bit. This is more of an outside theory, but it's one a lot of people are talking about today. So I think we should address it. So many of you are betting that Sharon's 180 from hero to villain is because she's also done a 180 from human to alien. Is Sharon Carter a Skrull? My guess is no. Here's why. While it would fit with the Secret Invasion style storyline, where Skrulls infiltrate the government, superhero groups, and more at high levels, playing the long game before they invade, why would Skrull Sharon endanger her newly regained access to the US government by continuing to be the power broker and selling top secret information to the highest bidder? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I guess it could be a cover, but remember, Kevin Feige likes to keep things simple. I can see where you're coming from now. It's a compelling theory, but not only does her continuing to be the power broker not make any sense, but then also, unless she's just a genius, why would she use technology to morph into someone else when she could do it biologically? Like, that's her cover. She's like, no one will ever think I could do it biologically, or else why would I have done it technologically? It's very convoluted, but I mean, I won't say it's impossible, but it seems like a bit of a stretch to me. However, all the Skrull talk got me thinking that when Contessa, aka Val, said things are about to get weird, what exactly is she referring to? Most of us assume she's referring to Dark Avengers and or the Thunderbolts. But is she talking about Secret Invasion? Does she know about the Skrulls? Is she a Skrull? I think she would be an excellent candidate to be a Skrull. Wouldn't it be great if Kevin Feige has already introduced us to a major Skrull operative? She is just the type they would want at the highest levels of government with a lot of connections. And maybe the Skrulls will create the Dark Avengers. I think that could potentially happen. I mean, that again is a little bit, again, Kevin Feige likes to keep things simple. But, the Skrulls could create the Dark Avengers, a team they can control, a team they can take down, or a team they can use to discredit the government. I think that I could see some path forward there. But I think that Kevin Feige not only likes to keep things simple, but sometimes that means streamlining and combining comic book stories. So while we see all these events percolating, we have to try and figure out how they're going to maybe, again, overlap and what order they'll come, etc. But just keep Skrulls on the mind at all times now, especially because the Disney Plus show is fast approaching. There are Skrulls out there. And so the question is who? I'm very excited. All right, now let's talk about the more direct developments spinning directly out of this show. Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers. Let's start there. Now, these are two teams that have evolved into something very different over the years, but they actually started out very similarly. And Kevin Feige's a purist who likes old school comics. So, because there's a question that we have, will the Thunderbolts and the Dark Avengers be two different teams? I heard that they will, but let's see. So let's just break it down what we know so far. This is a constantly moving target. So, We have the information in front of us. I'm giving you the information I have from my sources. We're piecing it all together. And that's why this is so much fun. All right, so Thunderbolts were started in the comics. Thunderbolts were started by Zemo to take the place of the missing disbanded Avengers, a team of villains pretending to be heroic so that they could earn the US government's favor and then turn the tables on them once they gained access. Now, the Dark Avengers were started by Norman Osborn. Interestingly, in the wake of Secret Invasion, the US government was like, whoa, the Avengers did absolutely nothing to stop, or at least they were really late in the game stopping the Skrull invasion. In fact, Tony Stark was personally blamed for a lot of it, although he's not on the table anymore in the MCU, at least not now. But anyway, the US government was like, you really botched that. We're going to go find, in the comics, they were like, we're going to find a new favorite tech billionaire. And they picked reformed Norman Osborn, who kind of was reformed a little bit. He was like, it wasn't going so well. But, it was an interesting story because of that. You were like, is Norman Osborn reformed or not? You're like, he couldn't possibly be. But the story was very interesting. Now, he turned shield into hammer. You got sword, shield, hammer. Great stuff. And he created his own Avengers team, which actually had a number of Thunderbolts on it, interestingly enough. These were villains posing as heroes. Osborn led that team as Iron Patriot, his own version of Iron Man. And while long story short, at the end of the day, these villains just couldn't stop being villains. Now, as I've told you again, Norman Osborn will soon be returning to the MCU. We'll see how that plays out, but Osborn and therefore Oscorp are coming. So Dark Avengers could be on the horizon. And John Walker would be a prime candidate as Hammer's Cap. And in fact, he briefly served in the Dark Avengers in the comics. But it was weird. It was like in an alternate reality. But, the history's there. But after episode 6 did such a good job of setting John Walker on the path for redemption and gave him his official name from the comics, U.S. Agent, name and suit, I could also see him joining the Thunderbolts now, which in the comics he even briefly ran when he was warden at the Raft. So the Thunderbolts evolved over the years to be Marvel's basically Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, a team of villains and anti-heroes run out of the Raft. Now, it's been rumored for a while now, you've been hearing this from me, you've been hearing this from other people, that General Ross will be setting up the Thunderbolts spinning out of Black Widow. He himself has been a member of the team as the Red Hulk. I told you the upcoming She-Hulk show will feature a number of different Hulks. So Red Hulk is a prime candidate for that to happen in the MCU. And also it's his nickname, Thunderbolt. So Kevin Feige likes to keep things simple, so that's a great way to name the team officially. Now also, as I told you, Zemo will be joining this team, and at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was supposed to have an end credit sequence where he was recruited by General Ross and Yelena Belova, who will be on the team. However, I told you there was a chance in advance that they might move that now because they didn't want Yelena Belova to show up here before she showed up in Black Widow. They already did that with Julia Louis-Dreyfus because of timing. The show and the movie switched release order. So you'll see that tease at the end of Black Widow. So Zemo will be on the team, maybe John Walker, Yelena Belova, Taskmaster if he doesn't get killed in the Black Widow movie, Ghost we're hearing. And then also I think Bucky would be a candidate to join this. We're wondering what Bucky's going to do with his life now. He's all about redemption. That's a big theme for him. I think we want to see that for John Walker. Maybe Yelena Belova has something she needs to redeem herself for. Ghost certainly does. And I think Bucky would be a great person to lead that team. Is a beacon of hope that you too can overcome your personal demons, or at least, 80 to 90% of the way. So, not so much that you're no longer an interesting character, but there is a path forward. So I think that would be a great lineup. That would be an amazing lineup. Now, could Val be working with General Ross? Will she add John Walker to the team? Maybe. I could see that happening. Although, I also want to say that with his reputation, while his reputation might be in the gutter, he's not technically a villain. The government doesn't feel he's a villain. He's free to go. You see him in episode 6 working with heroes and working with the police, although Zemo worked with this group too, so that's interesting. But I don't know if John Walker would go along with a group of like legit anti-hero / villains in Thunderbolts. So that U.S. agent reputation leads me back to lean in the Dark Avengers direction. All right, so that's what's going on right there. That's how that's developing. Then finally, there's the Young Avengers. And I've been telling you for a long time now that they're assembling, but you can finally see it clearly for yourself. With multiple Young Avengers characters from the comics or ones from the current champions, the current, teenage team in Marvel, being introduced in the MCU movies and Disney Plus shows. Now, Eli Bradley is one of those characters, aka Patriot. Now, in the comics, he says he inherited his grandfather's powers, but it actually turns out, as many of you pointed out in the comments today, that he was taking mutant growth hormone. Now, Marvel has shown a willingness to handle difficult subject matters that are ripped from the headlines in Falcon and Winter Soldier. However, having Isaiah Bradley's grandson get hooked on superhero steroids might be seen as a step back from all the progress this show has made. So I'm still guessing that he'll just outrightly inherit these powers and just hasn't revealed it yet. That's what I would lean towards. But we'll see. They could do the superhero steroid story. After all, though, no superhero soldier serum recipient has had children in the MCU just yet besides Bradley. So I think that would be a very interesting storyline to see what happens with the bloodline. Although we don't know what Cap got up to in the life that he got to lead. He might have had at least one child with Peggy. And in fact, in alternate dimensions in the MCU, in the Marvel comics, he has had children. He had one with Natasha Romanoff, James, named after Bucky, and then Sarah with Rogue. It gets crazy. But now that the multiverse is coming into play in the MCU, those characters could show up at some point, so it's something to consider. So what do you think? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.